Order for me sense no mo nyina akwa ba de ba Ghana chi order for court in some seminar na egusu ewo so order for be kai national service scandal kese na ebeto dwa no yesi director no anye ne deputy omodi sika pa achese true national service scheme no omodi nye sika town de ayom hu bi pa ene omebusu afodofo aban ne ba on be hwehwemu no maka se sankofu we omodi national service opportunity no de disika pa e wo Ghana asodofo sisi ame no kasa no update kese pa na beto dwa efi court High Court kese pa information kese pa concerning the national service scandal no odofo nkofu mienu director no anye the deputy na omudi sika no update kese pa abeto dwa form hu efi court breaking news na beto dwa me so begi ni nyina bre Ghana odofo message so bedi mechi na akwakotie sa national service for scandal no update kese pa efi court nemba yisia Ghana tube so.
Can you stay with me? Because something else came up earlier today, and it's still in connection with the Attorney General because he gave an update on this NSS case. The figures involved have gone up. And then also this particular matter was a subject in the court earlier today as well. That's coming up next. Gift Owari Mensah, former deputy, that's the National Service Authority that pleads not guilty to money laundering and more. Here's how it all unfolded in court, and we're going to tell you in a bit. Earlier today, the Accra High Court granted former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Gift Owari Mensah, a bail of 10 million cedis with 3 sureties after pleading not guilty to multiple offenses, including money laundering. Now, Owari Mensah is accused of generating over 9,000 ghost names through which she's alleged to have stolen more than 38 million Ghana cedis. Dennis Poperi with Damasco is still with me in the studio. Before we get the update that the Attorney General gave on this case, what do we know on this particular issue, especially taking into consideration what happened in court today?
So we do know that this actually was supposed to happen last week, Friday, but for reasons of ill health, which the court was duly notified, she was not able to appear before the court. She did so today, and upon pleading not guilty to all the charges leveled against her, she was admitted to bail, 10 million Ghana cedis, 3 sureties, 2 of whom are to be justified with landed property. As we speak, it's unclear whether she's been able to meet all the bail conditions or not. But yes, the court has granted that bail and also put her on the stop list. What it means is that she cannot go out of the country. And of course, that was a prayer made by the prosecution to ensure that she's within the jurisdiction to face the law. And indeed, even her own lawyers had prayed the court to, grant her bail, making reference to the fact that the initial investigation by the NIB, parts of it, the conditions for which she was released on bail had to do with her surrendering her passport. So it was not even possible for her to leave the jurisdiction. So in a sense, she's on bail, and the next agenda to be, the expectation is that prosecution will file their disclosures, and then the case will progress from there. But it's unclear whether or not she's been able to meet the bail conditions. That is so. As we speak. That is so. That we are not aware of. We are not aware of that as yet. As yet. Yeah. So it's one that we're keeping an eye on and to see how things play out. But this was also a subject for the Attorney General's press conference earlier today. He gave an update on further investigations into this national service scandal. And this is what he said. Take a look.
In the case of the latter, we have filed charges against the former chief executive, executive director, Osea Sibe and his deputy, Gift Owari. Charges are being prepared against the rest of the public officers and the so-called marketplace vendors. In all, we intend to file about 10 cases in the NSA scandal and will use some of the public officers and vendors as prosecution witnesses. Now, this is a strategy that is working very well for us, and we intend to continue to use that strategy. In a situation where there is a small criminal among big criminals, and the small criminal knows a lot, it is better as a matter of prosecutorial strategy to use a small criminal to get the information in order to be able to succeed, and that is what I'm doing. Also, I wish to announce that the Auditor General has conducted a forensic audit into the NSA, the National Service Scandal, and the total amount of money stolen or illegally spent now stands at 2.2 billion, and not the 548 million that was uncovered by my investigators as at June 2025. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I have here a copy of the Auditor General's report. Again, painstaking investigation is very important in criminal matters. And so, based upon what the Auditor General has done, and this is a forensic audit, okay? Forensic audit means that they've gone beyond what ordinary, auditing would have done. And so, we are going to, based upon this, in some cases, change the charge, amend our charge sheets in order to bring fresh charges.
Well, so that's the latest on this national service scandal. Dr. Dominic Ayeni, the Attorney General, gave in there. Dennis, so now the figure has gone up.
Yes.
From a little over
548 million. Now we are looking at 2.2 billion. And he says that their initial investigation indicated that 548 million. However, when the Auditor General did a forensic audit, it brought up the figure to 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. He also mentioned that they intend to file 10 cases. So what we know already is that one case has been filed.
Hey, Odofo, Sisia National Service for scandal no na chese ebeto dwa ayesi sika twitwi die akwakodi mu no. Sisia no ya amende sika no. Ya amend charges no sika no raise from 500 and something million Ghana cedis ako 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. For ensem we dia no ohio sika no auditor mo ye ni hwehwemu no mo ye ni nyina se na sika no ebi asan aba be ka ho sa na nya 500 and something million Ghana cedis so sika no akwakodu 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. For when you breaking news kese pan update kese just a concern a national service for almost scandal na just say director no and the deputy sika omo depend enya sem keto 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. For when you ensem IDG just say aban we the omania burden den omo si bebi biara aban sika bia hye opanyi bi ode ne saka aban sika bia no bebi okohye bia no ye betwe ne agi sika ni nyina ne de develop economy. For we any breaking news abitodwa me so be gini nyina bro Ghanatube. For manko the ensem so be isi Ghanatube so
filed, and that's in respect of Gifty Owari Mensah. We're also expecting that in the coming days, that of the executive director, the former executive director himself, Ose SB, will also be before the court. That will be 2, but for the others, we are still not sure exactly when those matters will come up. But he did indicate that the other officials of the National Service Authority are those who are going to be prosecuted. But he also mentioned that some of them, instead of prosecuting them, he will use them as prosecution witnesses. So the vendors on the marketplace, they are also persons of interest for him. They may also be prosecuted in the coming days. In all, he's looking at prosecuting 10, not 10 people, but he says 10 cases. As to whether each case will be for a person or a case can have more than one person, the coming days will disclose all of those information to us.
Very important in there, and that's one as well that we're going to keep an eye on. And then you should recall that prior to this, to today, there were calls about the oral cases and what is happening, because all of this one wasn't captured, right, with the list of the oral cases that we do know. But then the Attorney General explains why there's a seeming slow pace in the prosecution of the oral cases, and he says, well, the oral reports didn't do much in terms of evidence. Let's hear from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the oral investigations are concerned, the status report is as follows. Out of the report of the oral committee submitted to my office, we instructed the National Intelligence Bureau in March 2025 to conduct investigations into cases of suspected acts of theft and graft by public officials and their allies in the private sector. The investigations were necessary because the oral committee reports did not contain the evidence required to prove the guilt of the suspects in court beyond reasonable doubt. It is always important to remember that the oral committee was tasked by His Excellency the President to receive complaints of looting of state resources.
Well, so that's the Attorney General there, and Martin Pebo is still with me. He is a member of this oral preparatory team. Counsel, you heard the Attorney General there. He says that the report you gave or you submitted did not contain enough evidence, and so those have to still go through the process of investigating some of the report details that you submitted, and that also has contributed to the seeming delay that people are seeing and complaining about in this oral cases prosecution. Is it a justifiable one, a verdict on your work?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The oral committee, oral is in stages or phases. Our mandate was basically to collect complaints and then gather these, in a readable, intelligible manner for the Attorney General, who would then look at the cases and then distribute those that will stay with him, those that will go to OSP.
Order for when a breaking news about to Jack concerning a national service air scandal, not just say director no and the deputy. Sikatutri de pan or medipan and yes, Sikaketu for when a breaking news about to Jar, Mr. Medina in a bro, Ghana to see and you see, Sikan a movie from 500 and something million Ghana cedis to 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. Order for director non kwa and the deputy, Sika or Medino and yes, Sikaketu for when a breaking news, every Accra High Court. Abeto Jar Chess and Neno or Maka Kupim or Medican court. By a siena, almost plead say, Omunya guilty. I was a charges near the abo muninano, and a chess and answer Moko court no, almost say, and a back on a hold donor nardens no banano, no home funny to Injimian Pimo court, but as see the Yamiadum or Pimo court in seminina updating Abeto Jams beginning in a bro, Ghanatube for my call, when in some Abeto Jar concerning a national service for scandal, not a form of December like now subscribe to my channel, my notification bonus of my send a bear. Bring a BB drop content say ya woo, we are not a pan watching with for aha, and I'm in some in a busy Ghanatube so. Macramina, Madame Nassi brain.